Tony, what do you know about the water? What do you know about the
Uh,
world?
What word comes to
the world
mind
of
when you
water.
think of the earth?
There's a lot of
For
it.
some, that word might be
What if I told
beautiful.
you that there's a lot
Others
of
might say the
plastic
world is
in the
hateful
ocean?
or evil
I would believe
or
you. Yeah.
unstable
Do you know
or fraudulent.
microplastics are stored in the
But above
balls?
all else,
That's
a
actually
word
that's
that
I'm
actually
not.
something
I.
I've read
our world
recently. I'm
is
not making this
resilient
up.
I. I think even more concerning is
against
also
the
stored in
odds,
the blood.
time and
People,
time
I read
again.
something. It was
Creatures
like
adapt to make the
microplastic in the
most of
balls
their
could
given
cause cancer, and
environment.
I was like, right, that's it.
Yeah.
Some learn to
Get those
feed on others,
microplastics out of my
stealing their
balls right
vitality for their
now.
own.
Yeah. But they're
Some
just
become
everywhere.
scavengers,
So yeah,
living
kind of
off what
sucks.
What
strangers
if I
leave
told
behind.
you that microplastics are a good
And
thing
others still, as we will soon hear,
For who?
for the creatures underwater? Of course.
prefer to be simply
Right.
This
left
is
alone.
another crab's treasure. Because one man's trash, Tony, is another crab's treasure.
Makes sense.
And the idea of this game is everything that's valuable underwater is plastic because you can build stuff out of plastic. So
Yep.
the actual like buildings of the game, they're like giant flip flops, sand castles propped up by lollipop sticks. I
Anything
think,
structural,
yeah.
basically.
And the general idea of this game is it's a Souls-like game, but you take that setting of like a depressing infected castle and you go, what if we just did like a colorful underwater plastic land? Which I think
Yeah.
is such a cool way to flip it on its head. Oh yeah, by the way, this loan shark is the YouTuber Michael Reeves. I didn't notice this until my friend asked me, did you meet Michael Reeves? And I went, wait, Michael Reeves is in this game? I was like, oh wait, shit, yeah, he is. He's the loan shark and he's the blue lobster dude.
Oh right. Multiple characters.
Yeah.
It's huge.
I love that this loan shark is like one of those sharks on the end of a stick, you know, that
Yeah.
step up and down.
Like a real shark.
But the general idea of the game is you play as Krill, you have your shell. There are not, there are many like it, but this shell is mine. And the loan shark takes your shell because you've got no microplastics, you've got nothing to trade. And he basically steals it, and the entire plot of the game is Krill wants to get his shell back because it gets stolen. So throughout the game, you have to go through it and put on random different shells in order to use their abilities and their different stats. And through this system of changing shells kind of opens up the game. I'll skip ahead a bit. So it's that general combat of, attacking and blocking. But the way you block is you use your shell. And your shell has what's called shell health, which is like the blue bar you saw at the beginning. And the blue bar, when that runs out, the shell breaks. So you're kind of like pushed towards swapping between different shells. And this kind of opens up the gameplay in a lot of ways where you're constantly trying out different abilities and different things on the fly. Which is really, really cool. And it reminds me of Aggro Crab's first game. Oh yeah, by the way, they're a company called Aggro Crab, and their first game didn't have a crab in it, but this one does. Don't worry. Guys, they've offset the balance of... Dude, is it just me, or is there so many crab games these days? Why is there so many crab games coming out?
I don't know.
I
The
guess
crab.
we just didn't have enough crab games, and now we do. I like how
Make us tweet some more.
because there's Crab Game, the Squid Game, and
Yeah.
it was made by a YouTuber called Danny, and he was like, "Oh shit, there's not a crab inside Crab Game." So he made one level that was just you fighting a giant crab. Which I thought was pretty funny.
Were there any squids in Squid Game?
I didn't see any, to be honest with you. Maybe they ate squid at some point in the show. I'm not sure.
Right.
I remember the first scene of Squid Game, they're eating food. So I'd have to go back and fact check it. I mean, I don't remember any crabs in Squid Game, the game show from Netflix, which I watched. Which I like, but I feel like you would hate because it's trash television.
Yeah, I didn't watch it.
But you know what game this reminds me of, Tony?
Uh,
A game I
Dark
played last
Souls?
year.
Oh, you played Sekiro?
I'm getting a lot of Sekiro vibes from this game, yeah. Specifically in a lot of like ways that enemies have almost a posture bar. In a lot of ways, like they have this yellow bar underneath them.
Almost.
Yeah, it's not
Okay.
the same as a posture bar. Like in a posture bar, they do get staggered, and they in the same way the posture bar. So it is quite similar, but it's not exactly the same.
Right.
Like I don't know if you because you can block and you can also parry in this game, and it threw me off in the beginning because in every game that you can parry, you press the block button as they're about to attack. In
Yeah.
this game, you block with your shell and you unblock as they're attacking to parry. So it does switch it up and make it interesting. It's just your brain has to adjust to it if you've been playing like every other Souls game. But yeah, you fill a yellow bar and then they'll stagger and they'll fall over and you can even get like a skill menu. There's like a skill tree you get from Umami, which is like you get these crystals around the world, and these crystals let you level up your ability. Like you don't start with a parry in the game, but you have to level that
you
up
don't
in the
start-
skill
oh,
tree.
right.
No.
Okay.
So some
Interesting.
fundamental stuff I'm like, oh, that's actually in the skill tree, which I didn't know early on. I would have been parrying all the time if I could, but I didn't know I had to get it in the skill tree early game.
Yeah.
Um,
Sandal. It's Sandal.
but you have your standard Souls like stuff. Like you have these kelp pods, which are essentially healing pots that you have like a limited supply of that you can carry, and then you find more around the world, and they refresh when you use a moon snail shell, which is basically a campfire.
Yeah.
You have these hooks, which you can use to hook onto fishing rods above you, which I find hilarious that you use these to get around, but they're actually fishing rods used to catch fish in real life.
You're no fish.
And you can also get an ability from the crystals that lets you like hook onto enemies and drag yourself towards them. Like a lot of the shell spells remind me of the ninja arts, like the martial arts from Sekiro. Like
Oh, really? Okay.
the reason I get so many Sekiro vibes is because you are super fast in this game. There's no stamina bar, for example. You can keep sprinting around. You can grapple around, which is very Sekiro-like. There's a posture bar. Like I haven't played the Souls games, but I get like more Sekiro vibes from this game, which is really cool because I love Sekiro, and yeah, I really like this game. But I think it also opens up like I like the stat system in this game as well because there's only 4 main stats. There's not like because the thing I loved about Sekiro, I'm not just going to talk about Sekiro again. Sekiro was you play as John Sekiro, which is famously his name, and you only have one weapon, and there's no like leveling a bunch of different billion stats like in Elden Ring or Dark Souls or whatever, right? It's just like you can get new skills, which is kind of like what you do in this game. But in this game, you have stats, but you only have 4 of them. So there's health, resistance, umami, and attack. So attack makes your attacks deal more damage. Vitality gives you a bigger health bar. Resistance makes your shells take less damage and prevents you from taking. It means you can stack up debuffs slower. Then MSG, which is a hilarious name by the way, is basically your magic. So how much damage you deal with shell spells, which is pretty cool. And so as you kill enemies in the game, you get these things called microplastics, which are essentially souls or runes, as I think they're called in Elden Ring. And if you die, you drop all the ones you have on you, and then you can go and pick them up. And then if you die again, they get wiped from the game, sort of thing. So there is like that immediate feeling of, oh god, I need to get to another campfire in order to spend these, or I need to get to I have to make sure I don't get too greedy, sort of thing. Which I like. I like that system. Like I know some people really hate the system of feeling like you lose stuff when you die, right? But it also adds like that risk reward, and it adds to like I like playing hardcore games
Adds
sometimes.
the scariness. Yeah, adds the scariness to the world.
There's
right? It makes it
jeopardy
feel
to playing the game.
uneasy. Yeah.
Um,
You're not gonna have like hardcore. I think it's like a good middle ground between hardcore and having a mechanic where you're so scared to not die. I think it's good. It's a good one, yeah.
Also, Tony, the first boss in the game is obviously the horse boss from Sekiro. Like they're not trying to hide it. Yeah,
Like,
he literally comes out screaming. He's like, what are you doing? It's like, you know, the fucking horse boss in Sekiro is, I am Guyaba Mat. The thing is, I never remember his name. The one boss I don't remember the name of is the boss in Sekiro that literally shouts his name as you fight him. But I remember Lady Butterfly and Genichiro and fucking all the other ones, and I'm just like, oh, I just always forget his name. So yeah. But I mean, if you're fighting against a guardian ape, you know he's a guardian ape, right? Like, you're not gonna forget that.
It's quite memorable, yeah.
Yeah.
To say. So this guy shouts at you and shouts his name in this one as well.
It doesn't shout his name, I don't think.
Oh,
but
okay.
he's like a hang on, I think I'll show you. I have footage of him.
This is the first boss as well, which is
Nephro, Captain of the Guard.
It's like a centaur lobster.
So basically, you go and you speak to the guards outside the castle where the Duchess is, who basically took your taxes and stole your shell. They're like, we won't let you in here without a shell. That's obscene. You're naked right now. How dare you? And it's like, okay, I'll go up to this machine and click on it. And the guy's like, lawbreaker, you didn't pay for that. I'm going to kill you. And it's like, oh shit, I guess. So like immediately the game's like, you are now in a boss fight.
That's funny. Okay.
But it is immediately like...
He's got a plastic straw.
Yeah. He's like this lobster horse. So they're kind of like, you know, the royal guardsmen that are on horses, but he's just like a horse lobster
He's
creature.
like centaur.
Yeah.
Almost. I mean, it's definitely something.
Like when you fight this boss for the first time, and you're like, oh, you know, it's like a boss fight right at the beginning, and then you see more enemies like this, and their moves are all kind of similar to this guy. So like by the time you fight these monsters again, it's like they're just normal enemies.
Yeah.
And as you learn the game and get better, so you have these red attacks like you do in Sekiro, which are like unparryable. Oh yeah, another cool thing about this game is if you're in a boss fight, they allow you to just respawn at a nearby moon jelly that will let you immediately pick up your stuff and then fight the boss again. So that was a big thing about Sekiro compared to the Souls games, was Sekiro always had campfire, like it always had Buddha statues next to the bosses, so it was like you could just immediately fight the bosses over and over again. And this game's like, okay, we might not be able to put a moon snail shell here for story reasons, but we'll just let you respawn here so you can keep fighting the boss and just learning. And
I think that makes a lot of sense.
I think I played this like Sekiro. I was very much like, oh, I might not be... I don't think I'm strong enough to fight some of these bosses, but I'm just going to keep fighting them over and over again, and I'll just persevere and just beat them by learning their mechanics and getting better. Yeah. I'll just do the Sekiro and get good, you know?
Just get good.
Yeah, because you can't just
that's just From Software games in general, just get good.
Well, I'd say the Souls games are much more, you can just sit and farm if you want to.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Oh yeah, so if you break their balance, you get like capsized, which lets you knock them over and then do a bunch of damage. There's even like a skill you can get that lets you, when they're capsized, hit a weak point. Because there's in the Moon Snail Shell skill tree, you can go down different paths. So there's one where it means that your shell's way more tankier and you can do more parry stuff. There's one where you're better at dodging and like you get invulnerable when you're not got a shell. There's a tree where you can basically go like a two-handed weapon, and you can like charge attack onto a different shell and then use that shell as like a hammer instead, as like a heavier weapon.
That's
And then
really cool, yeah.
there's like a magic tree where you can like upgrade your spell shell attacks, and it's like the end of that tree. If you use like a MSG attack to kill an enemy, it'll refund some of the cost that it costs to use it. So there's
Okay.
like
Yeah.
distinct different trees. You can level all of them up fully, but like the order you go down them will depend on how like you're playing through the game. I would say like the game starts off like, here's some umami crystals, use them to level up your skills and kind of go down a tree, and then eventually they go, oh fuck it, have a bunch and just buy every skill. At some point you're just like,
Oh,
oh
right.
okay.
Okay. Interesting.
But some of them, like the parry, I'm surprised the parry's not a baseline skill. Like
Yeah.
like in Sekiro, like the Makiri counter should be like a baseline skill. The Makiri counter is so important in Sekiro.
Yeah.
And I found myself that I was like just parrying a lot in this game. I was like, okay, I'm a Sekiro player. I can parry stuff. Because if you block, it deals damage to your shell health, and your shell health is your magic attacks as well. But if you parry,
Right.
it doesn't deal shell damage, and
Yeah.
it attacks the opponent's posture bar. With Sekiro, the way that worked, because as I was saying, the posture system's kind of different in this game. With Sekiro, if you broke somebody's posture, then you could get them down to a death blow and deal like the one-hit kill. In this game, you're still attacking health bars. You're never like defeating a boss without getting their health to
Yeah.
go to zero like
It's kinda
you do in
a hybrid-
Sekiro.
Like a hybrid system
Yeah.
then. Which I think makes sense.
So I would say, like, for the most part, I was playing Another Crab's Treasure like a gentleman. Like, I was playing it, I was attacking enemies, I was parrying, I was blocking. Do I have footage of me fighting Dutchy? I'll show, like, another boss fight. Oh, I love the fake brands. You have the Mario cigarettes, like Marlboro. There's
Yeah.
quite a lot of platforming sections in Another Crab's Treasure as well. Because you have like this ability where you can swim for a couple of seconds to like float, and you can like grapple on hooks and stuff like that with your fishing line. Do I have footage of me fighting the Dutchy boss? I don't think I do actually. Okay, so I thought
Pufferfish?
there's these things. Oh, stowaways are cool as well because they are essentially like equipping badges, or like they basically give you little bonuses, and you can only carry so many, and each of them has a cost.
Right.
So you'll start off and you'll only be able to equip 3 stars worth of stowaways, and different stowaways are different. So the sea star costs 2, but I've got 2 free slots, and when you get to the town, which is where you do like all your upgrading and stuff, then you'll be able to buy the ability to upgrade how many stowaways you can carry. So that'll let you like change around how you play the game. There was a really cool boss which is like a shrimp who attacks you, who like teaches you new like shell spells. Not shell spells, shell techniques. Basically, when your shell breaks and you have no shell, you have these abilities that let you deal like a magic spell. So there's one that basically costs mana to use, but doesn't require shell. So you just summon a giant crab's claw that attacks the enemy, and then you deal bonus damage to that enemy when you use that. Pretty cool. Oh, by the way, have you ever played a Dark Souls game? Have you had a giant boulder rolling down a hill?
A classic Dark Souls moment.
I like how there's like a guy at the top, and he's
Oh.
like, "Oh, were you coming down here? Sorry about that."
Can't believe I dropped it. Yeah, I do appreciate the humor in this game, and the
Yeah, this game's very fun. Like
aesthetic of the game.
we played the spotlight for Going Under, and I was like, that game is an amazing soundtrack and aesthetics, and it's a really cool combat system. And I'm like, I feel like they took a lot of that stuff and they just improved on it. Oh, shortcuts in this game are just dropping fishing lines so you can grapple up onto them. That's just another
Good
Souls thing, like creating
that.
shortcuts.
Ooh, that's a slim show.
Yeah, so there's weight to shells, and that's actually important because the weight of
weight
the
factor,
shell
though.
dictates how far you can dodge.
So Oh, okay. Nice.
and how quickly you get up when you get knocked down. So it's sort of like being heavier armor will have like more health, but it will also
Yeah.
let you dodge less.
Yeah. I do appreciate trade-offs. I just fundamentally like the idea of like, yeah, you do this, but you can't then do this. Like, it's just more interesting stuff can come about if you do it right.
But I
But
remember
I guess they did it right here.
Grovekeeper Topada. He's like this. He's a really cool boss because he's very like you can parry like almost every attack he has at you, and then he has this attack where he basically charges at you out of nowhere. And I remember I got my ass kicked several times by that, but then I was listening to the audio cues, and then something clicked, and I was like, okay, I have this boss now. And I beat him like a gentleman, like I was parrying, I was attacking him. But then, but as I was playing through the game, I was like, I wonder what happens if you just dump all of your points into MSG and you go full magic build. Tony, let me tell you, I may have broken the game. I may be way too powerful by dumping all
Too
of my
much
points.
magic.
Oh yeah, Mr. Krabs.
Mr. Krabs.
So there's lots of
There's
like
the money.
reference costumes. Like you have the Dark Soul, Going Under, Dark Souls, Praise the Sun God. But there's this shell called the Party Hat, and the Party Hat basically shoots a bunch of confetti in front of you and deals more damage based on how close the enemy is to you. So it's essentially like a shotgun. But
Yeah.
you can buy a
That's
large variant version of it with way more shell health called the Trophy. It's the 4th place trophy, which I find hilarious that it's someone has a trophy for 4th place. And yeah, turns out you can kind of start like just one-shotting enemies when you have a lot of points. Oh, I thought you would love that shell there specifically. I wonder if I go back and pick it up. It's a legally distinct block, I believe it's called.
Oh, okay.
It's like a little Lepin block.
Yeah.
But because one of the things with the magic build, like I have 67 MSG here, is that one of the skill trees you get access to is if you kill enemies with an ability that uses MSG, it will refund you. And if you have enough MSG, you will basically start one-shotting a lot of the smaller enemies. So you can just infinitely keep shooting the shotgun off, right? But this is where I broke the game with the stowaways again. There's a stowaway called Kelp Pods Plus that essentially makes it so every time you use one of your healing items, it gives you mana as well. So basically what that does is it turns your health pots into mana pots. So when I went into a boss fight, I would equip full like shell spell damage MSG, shotgun blast, put on my mana pots, drink a bunch of mana, and then just fucking shotgun blast the boss again. And I was just destroying every boss in the game with this without having to fight them in a way I would call fighting them like a gentleman.
Yeah, it seems kind of broken.
But the cool thing is, I played through the early game and I beat some of the hardest bosses just like normally. And I spent a lot of time like forging this build and figuring it out and farming the plastics in order to build it. And this is quite late game. And I was like, oh, and now I can play it like how I want to. The legal brick, Tony. The legal brick.
Legal brick.
No one can sue them. It's a legal brick. It's a legal brick.
It's a legal brick technique.
But I think there's a point in this area, which is kind of more of a late game area, where I'm fighting two of these like shrimp enemies that are shooting at me, and I just start shotgun blasting them, and I'm like, wait a minute, that was a boss, and it's just dead, and I didn't even realize. This game is really fun. I love this game. I think it was the perfect amount of like Souls-like, but also like relaxing, platforming, funny, charming, like witty.
Parodying some of the story beats of a Souls-like.
Oh, there's a tissue box over there that lets you cleanse your debuffs, or there's like probiotics, like yogurts that let you heal and stuff.
Oh,
like there's lots of like great references in all of the shell spells. And also, if you go down the magic tree, you get an ability that makes it so the first ability you use when you so here I'm going to show you swapping to the different kelp that lets you heal. What was it called? Plankton Plus, I think it was. Because there's Plankton and there's Plankton Plus. And you can double stack Plankton and Plankton Plus if you have enough stowaway space. So you can basically get like a bunch of mana just from using your health pots. So I was never using my health pots to heal, which is interesting because in like, I think it's in like Elden Ring has like magic build, right? And you can basically, when you're at a campfire, you can say how many of your health pots you want to be health pots and how many of your health pots you want to be mana pots, and that's a choice you have to make. But by using this Plankton Plus or whatever, right, I was essentially turning all my health pots into mana pots. But if I ever got into a fight and I'd use all my health pots as mana pots, I would be fucked because I'd have no more health pots. So they kind of balance themselves out that way, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's a more glass cannon, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, I was literally playing like a glass cannon build, basically. But I'd seen other people doing like different builds, and like going like pure attack makes you insanely strong. I think like just focusing one stat. Oh yeah, by the way, this game will fucking troll you. There's just sandworms that'll come out of the ground.
Oh right.
You'll go to pick up a shell, and you'll be like, oh, there's a shell over here, and then it'll like deflect you, and a hermit crab will come out of it. It's like it'll be an enemy. So, you know, like you have like there's like mimic chests in this game.
Yeah.
Like, did I show you the anglerfish? There's so many great moments like that. You know, so there's this area in the game called the Deep Dark, and there's this item sitting there, and I'm like, oh, there's an item sitting there. I'm gonna go pick that up. And as I go to pick it up, I notice that it's attached to this little light, and this anglerfish just jumps out of the sand and fucking eats me, and I'm like, well, I'm dead. But there's so many of those like souls, like I'm just gonna fucking troll you moments. There's a couple of other magic items I tried, like the disco ball I tried, but because the disco ball actually locks onto your enemies, but it just deals way less damage than the party hat.
Right.
So even though I could attack enemies from more of a range, I'd just much rather have the higher damage of like the party hat trophy build. Like I tried lots of different shit, and I think that's one of the coolest things with Another Crab's Treasure is you can just change your build on the fly with the different shells, which is really cool.
I think that's really cool. You just that's my question. How so you completed the game, right?
I've completed Another Crab's Treasure, yeah.
How long did it take you?
I'm not 100% sure, but according to Xbox, it took me about 24 hours.
Okay.
But I feel like you can complete it in maybe shorter than that. I may have left it on AFK or I was pissing about a little bit.
Right.
But I don't think I left it on too much.
So maybe like 20 hours, maybe.
Yeah, I would look up how long. I'll look
that.
up how long to beat Another Crab's Treasure.
I thought it wasn't like too expensive either.
Another Crab's Treasure says about 21 hours to 100%
It's
completion.
27 pounds as well. So
13 hours for the main story, 19 hours for main plus side, so 21 hours for completionist.
Right.
I would say I went and explored and looked around a lot. I didn't 100% complete everything, but I did do a lot of stuff in the game, so I wasn't rushing through anything by any means.
A lot of stuff to do.
Yeah, but Tony, I will admit, once I got to this point in the game, I was kind of just one shot killing, not like one shot killing, but one try killing bosses. I was kind of walking it in at this point, yeah. But it's like a power fantasy thing. I started off really weak, and I feel like it's not like Spider-Man where I woke up and I was Spider-Man. I was a shit crab, and I went and I killed and died a bunch to a lot of crabs, and now I am the Magic Master himself, you know?
Yeah.
That's cool. But yeah, I love the different builds you can do and stuff like that. I think it's really cool. I love the humor, the story, the setting, the music, the soundtrack is really good. But yeah, I think ultimately for me, Another Crab's Treasure is probably a 4.5 star game. I initially gave it a 4, and then I bumped it up to a 4.5. I think the thing that made me want to rate it slightly lower was the fact that there was quite a few bugs. When
Right.
I was sometimes I was falling through the floor. Enemies would hit me through walls. It's not super buggy, like in unplayable buggy, but there was I did like die
annoying.
to bugs enough times that I was like, okay, this is getting
Yeah.
kind of annoying. Again, I'm playing on the Game Pass build, so I think that may have been slightly behind the Steam build, but I think it was only like a patch behind, maybe.
So hopefully it gets patched over time to fix
Yeah,
the
hopefully
bugs.
there's a few bugs getting fixed. Like there was times where I'd get stuck, and because of the way the game worked, it would be like, well, okay, now I have to, because there's a button in the menu to press to die to respawn if you get stuck, right? But it's like, well,
Yeah.
now I have to give up my souls because the game's broken.
Yeah.
Like it's not because I played badly. I have to basically give up stuff because the game was buggy. But
Yeah.
okay,
That sucked.
the cool thing about this game is it features a very robust assist mode. So again, if you want to, you can basically make it so when you fall off the map, you don't lose souls. If you want to, you can make it so if when
Okay.
you die, you don't lose souls. What I was doing was immediately I'm looking around this corner because I know something's gonna fucking jump out at me. So I'm like, I'm not falling for
Yeah.
that shit. If I died or had to kill myself and respawn and it wasn't any fault of my own, what I would do is I would temporarily turn on the option to not lose souls on death, kill myself, respawn, and then turn that option off. So that's the way I got
Yeah.
around the bug without, being punished for something that wasn't my fault. But I don't know. Have you
So annoying,
have you
though.
seen some of the assist mode stuff? It's so fucking cool.
I think I've seen the I don't think I've actually seen it in use. Is it? Yeah, it was quite.
So
quite
one of the
big,
things
quite
you can,
robust.
one of the assist mode options is literally called "Give Krill a Gun," and essentially it gives him a shell that's a gun, and it will one-shot any enemy in the game. It's like the ultimate assist mode item,
Okay.
which I think I never used it because I was like, I want. I mean,
No.
I've already got a gun that one-shots everything. I don't need that. But no, obviously I don't one-shot it. But I think it's cool that that's an option. Like, I think it would be
Yeah.
funny if I replayed this game and just did the gun build and just tried to speed run the game as quickly as possible with the gun. Just walking
funny,
around
yeah,
shooting
that'd be cool.
everything. It's literally like a giant gun that goes on his back from the video I saw.
Like a glizzy.
Yeah, like a glizzy. Hang on, I'll see if I can find the boss that I fought.
So you would recommend this game? I mean,
I would recommend it.
£27.
So I was like,
pretty
oh,
good-
there's some
good price.
random like shrimps down here. Let me go and shoot those. And I was like, wait a minute, is this a boss?
Oh my god, that's destroying them.
Apparently these guys, I read like what are some of the tougher bosses. Apparently these guys are not ranked as very tough bosses. So I don't think they are.
It's easy.
It's not like I'm one-shotting a super hard boss, but then again, this is like how quickly I can kill some of the bosses with the shotgun build.
Yeah, it's insane.
Pollution Scoured. But yeah, I still had a lot of fun, and I would recommend this game to a lot of people. I think it's really, really cool. Let's move on. Okay, Tony. It's time to talk about Animal Well. Oh my god, okay. So this game is very hard to talk about. It is, I will just say, it is an exploration Metroidvania puzzle platformy game. I was immediately surprised about how well it was reviewed because I looked up nothing about it. All I knew was it was a solo dev game made by a guy called Billy Basso, and that it was being published by the new publisher Big Mode, who is owned by YouTuber video game Donkey, who I'm a big fan of.
Yeah.
And I knew nothing else about it. And I was reading
He
the
was in
pre-release
charge of
review
marketing.
scores, and it was like 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10. I was
Yeah.
like, holy shit, people like this game. And I was like, okay, I need to check this out. And I didn't want to get any spoilers, and I heard people were like describing it as like a Metroidvania game meets the Outer Wilds, and I was like, okay, I'm looking up nothing about this game, and I'm going in completely blind. And I think that is probably The best way to play Animal Well
Yeah.
is to look up nothing about like Tony. I played this game for about 10 hours, and the only instruction the game ever gave me was press B to wake up, and
Oh,
I
really?
completed the game. Like there's challenging puzzles, there's interesting movement stuff, and that was the only direct instruction I ever received, which I think just goes to show you like how well designed this game is.
Yeah.
That I could just comfortably like
didn't have to explain anything to you. It just laid it out in the world, and you figured it out.
I could innately go through the world, explore, and just figure stuff out as I went without having to go. There was never a point where I was like, oh man, I'm not sure what I need to press or how I'm gonna get through this area. It was just like, I'm just gonna experiment and figure out where to go and see what happens when I do certain actions. And I think that's when you know a game's really good. There's not a frustrating point. There's just points of player expression. That's how I felt in Celeste a lot of the time. Is I always felt like I had player expression to be like, oh, okay, I'm not 100% sure how to do this area, but I'm just gonna keep pushing buttons and trying different stuff until I figure out what happens.
I guess my question is, because obviously we're in the non-spoiler section at the moment, so is there anything you can say without spoiling it of why
Animal Well is so good?
And why you don't want people, without ruining it, why you should go into it blind.
There was a lot of eureka moments in Animal Well that completely change how you play the game with items that you don't even realize are important. Is how I will describe it. I mean, non-spoilery sections, I will say the soundtrack's fucking phenomenal.
Okay.
It's like one of my favorite soundtracks. I would compare it to is Inscription, in the way it's hauntingly beautiful, is how I would describe it. It's very strange. You know, I love my weird, strange games. But I think the soundtrack is like, it hits that spot of it is hauntingly beautiful. It is weirdly enticing. The art design is amazing. I mean, the game's called Animal Well, and it's about animals in a well. I mean, that's not spoilery. I mean, there you go.
It looks like a well-polished aesthetic.
I've never been more terrified of certain animals, I can say now, without spoilers.
Without spoilers, I'm now more... Okay.
There's certain animals I never knew I would be terrified of, but I am now terrified of them. It has darker sections, I would say, without spoiling it.
Okay.
I love the art. I also have no idea what I'm supposed to be. I'm some sort of blob, I think.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what are you?
Because you wake up in an egg, and the collectibles in this game are eggs. And, it's never, at least from what I understand, it's never really explained what you are or why you're collecting eggs. But then you're like, oh, the eggs aren't important. And then you're like, oh, the eggs are kind of important now. The game... this is just early game, without spoiling it. The game never told me I could use... The game never went, pause! You can use firecrackers to kill those blue things over there that are trying to kill you.
Yeah.
I saw a blue thing coming for me, and I said, I've got firecrackers. I'm going to throw these. And then it stopped the blue thing. And I went, oh, okay, I guess that's how that works. Like, isn't that beautiful game design?
Yeah. Just give them the tools.
Yeah.
Let them figure it out. Crazy effect as well, though.
Yeah, the game has this like heavy like CRT shaders, bright lights on like the flares and everything.
It's like a Fortress Slayer. Like I suppose even brighter when you were playing
the game has like these animals everywhere. The soundtrack, one of the songs on the soundtrack is, I'm gonna turn it up a lot. One of the songs of the soundtrack is just called Cuckoo, and I swear to God, it just goes off randomly in the world. Suddenly you'll just be chilling. And then the game will go, cuckoo, cuckoo. And I'm like, where the fuck, where'd that bird come from? Oh, okay. There's no bird. It's just a random, ambient sound.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, there's these unlit candles, Tony, that give you light. and you're like, oh, these aren't important, and then you realize they're very important, and it's just like stuff like that, where it's just like, this is great Metroid. The thing about this game is it's great Metroidvania design, because so many Metroidvania games are so similar in that you have obstacles and you go, you can't get up here because you don't have the double jump.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Animal Well goes, you can't do this because you don't have this thing, and it's never something that you would ever think about. And even when you have the thing and you use it for a while, you then realize accidentally, usually, there's a completely different way to use it, and it just completely opens up the game again.
That's kind of cool. Okay.
But I think that's
So like, so
I
part of it being a spoiler is like that, like learning these
yeah,
keys. Let's say like Metroidvania key abilities.
yeah,
Okay. And then also some story stuff as well, I suppose.
yeah. But I don't think I can go much more into this game without going into like what I would
Whoa,
call
okay.
slight
I guess,
mechanical spoilers.
what did you rate it? What did you?
What did I? Okay, before we go into spoilers,
Anyone play it?
what do I rate Animal Well? I would give it 4.5 stars. I gave it 4 initially, and I went up to 4.5, like Another Crab's Treasure, because
Yeah.
okay. I can't explain why without going into spoilers, but I
That's
think
fine. So
generally the
spoil it.
game is very well designed, but I wasn't pushed to play it to 100% completion. Like I didn't feel like I wanted to do that. I didn't feel compelled to keep going and collecting things. So it's
Right,
not.
okay.
It wasn't a game where I was like, "Oh, I need to keep playing this," even though I got past a point where a credit rolled. I cannot say more than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would you recommend everyone to try it?
I would
or, like,
recommend
you-
everyone
more
to.
specific?
I would recommend everyone to go in and play Animal Well completely blind. I don't know. So
Okay.
the thing I was thinking about the other day, because I think Animal Well is an amazing game that I recommend to most people. If
Yeah.
somebody had never played a game, I don't know if I would recommend Animal Well. But I also was thinking, there's no reason why if you haven't played a game, you couldn't play Animal Well. Because there's nothing you need to understand about games to
Yeah.
play Animal Well. There's no like tropes of like, oh, now you have the double jump. Oh, well now obviously you need to do this. Other than like
Yeah.
pressing buttons opens doors. I mean, I think most people have a general understanding of
I
that
think
in life.
normally you would if you taught a game like you're a child and then someone else teaches you like, oh, okay, and even then like you're figuring stuff out.
But yeah,
you're understanding how buttons
Generally,
work.
I'll say like Animal Well is a game about secrets, and the game is about uncovering those secrets. So you are doing yourself a disservice by looking stuff up beforehand.
Right.
Yeah. Like the game
So, $4.5
genuinely makes you feel.
stars, go play it.
The game genuinely makes you feel smart when you solve a puzzle on your own.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That's not normally like, even though Metroidvanias do the puzzle elements, that's normally something you get
It's sort of
from-
like Halo 2 meets Halo 3. I don't know if you.
Okay. I don't understand this reference, but yeah,
No,
I
basically,
guess it's
when
the
Donkey was marketing the game, he's like, "Yo, Animal Well, it's coming out on May 9th. It's sort of like Halo 2 meets Halo 3," which obviously it's not, but that was
It
the
doesn't
meme
matter.
way of describing it. Because you
Yeah.
can't describe Animal Well, because every time you describe
Yeah.
Animal Well, you kind of take away from the experience.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess we've got to go into spoilers, Tony. Like,
Okay.
okay. So if you don't want to hear, I guess, mechanical spoilers about the game, okay.
'Cause we're not doing full spoilers.
No.
'Cause I don't want to know too much either. But
So,
yeah.
Tony, the beginning of the game, you're gonna find a frisbee, and this is gonna blow your mind
What?
because you'll be like,
Frisbee?
"Why the fuck do I want a frisbee?"
Well, is it
Tony.
a weapon?
No, it's not a
Right,
weapon.
okay. It's literally just. a
So
frisbee.
if I told you there's a game where you get a frisbee, what do you think you do with a frisbee?
Well, I guess I'm thinking a boomerang, like you throw it and come back, or you throw it through an enemy if you can pick it back up.
Yeah.
It's a good
So
weapon.
a lot of what you do in the early game with the frisbee is you throw it, and you
Yeah.
can hit switches and stuff like that.
Oh, okay, yeah, I didn't know that, yeah. Actual physical interaction, yeah.
But then there's certain puzzles you find, and you're like, oh, I can throw the frisbee in between two switches and it'll switch between them, and then I can jump up and down on these blocks, and then it'll switch the switches for me while I'm not there. That's like an example of an early game puzzle you'll figure out with the frisbee.
Right.
Tony, the frisbee is guarded by a ghost dog, and if you take it,
What?
it will haunt you and chase you.
Okay.
And it will keep chasing you until you put that frisbee back. And one of the first roadblocks of the game is figuring out, how the fuck do I get the frisbee without being chased or tormented by this ghost dog?
Interesting.
Because he'll slowly
Okay.
kill you over time, and you'll have to restart from your last checkpoint. Which the way the game works is when you die, you have these telephones that you call up, and so I guess it's kind of like a typewriter in a Resident Evil game, right? Where
the same point you come in before.
yeah. So the last one that you used, it's like a save point basically. The last one that you called is where you respawn.
That is how the Resident Evil Home works.
But it's kind of like softer checkpoints in a way where you'll respawn there, but if you've pressed a couple of buttons to open a door, usually those buttons will stay pressed, and you just have to press the last button. Yeah, there's still a bit of memory outside of the telephones. But if certain rooms will be like, no, you need to press all these buttons at once, that's part of the puzzle. So it's generally, it's not like, some game, like I've been playing some games recently, and I'm like, I wish this game would give me more direction. I never said that once playing Animal Well, which is why I think it's such good game design.
Yeah. Direction without obvious pointing.
So, I've already told you, you can use the frisbee to push buttons, and you need to get the frisbee in order... You need to basically figure out how do you get the frisbee from the dog. You also need the frisbee to get past dogs. Here's another mechanical spoiler, because there's these random dogs that are in your way, but if you throw a frisbee, dogs chase frisbees, so you can use the frisbee to get past dogs.
Yeah.
So basically, you get to a point where you find what's called the M disc, which is the mock disc. So you swap out the frisbee with the mock disc, and that's how you unlock the frisbee for yourself, right?
Right.
I've only covered half the stuff with the frisbee, Tony. I've accidentally...
There's more frisbee?
I don't know if I want to give this away. It's such a cool moment. I don't know if I want to give it to you. There's more stuff with the frisbee, and there's more stuff with the dog statue. And there's terrifying stuff with the dog statue. I don't...
Okay.
Like, we're not going into full spoilers, are we? We're just going to mechanical spoilers.
No.
Oh, man. There's a point where I realize... You ever seen that meme of Adam Driver in Star Wars, and he's like, I understand what I must do, but I know I may not have the strength to do it? There's a couple of moments like that in this game where I'm like, I'm terrified of what's going to happen when I do this, but I understand this is exactly what I have to do.
Right.
Yeah, there's more stuff with the dog frisbee statue. And there's more stuff that you can do with the... So this is why you need, like, the frisbee to distract the dog. Because there's a lot... I don't know if you know this, Tony, but there's animals in this well. There's lots of animals in this well.
And they're all bigger than you.
Yeah, you're just a blob or something.
You look like you're like half the size of a small rabbit.
Yeah.
Oh, these darkness things are terrifying.
Yeah. Tony, thanks to Animal Well, I'm now terrified of certain creatures. I don't see. I want to talk more about Animal Well, but I can't because it's spoilers.
Do you not you have such support groups.
I wish I could do it. I wish you would.
It wouldn't be a support group. It'd be like everyone who's played this game.
I wish you had played Animal Well, so I could explain like so many more like great parts about Animal Well. The reason I gave Animal Well a 4.5 instead of a 5 out of 5 is because there is a lot of movement mechanics in Animal Well, but I felt like they weren't like as fluid as I would like them to be. Right, there's nothing as fluid as like a double jump, a triple jump, like a dash. Like there's really interesting items you get that unlock movement abilities, which I've described one of them already, and you are going to be like, I have no fucking idea how you could do that with a frisbee, but they're cool and interesting the first time you use them. But I would say they never feel like 100% fluid to use. Like that was one of the main reasons I didn't want to go back and like collect all the different eggs, was because I was like, I kind of don't feel like
not 100% polished.
Yeah, it doesn't feel great to move a lot of the time. Like it doesn't feel bad to move, and it's like the movement's really interesting because of the interesting design they did. But that's why I would say Animal World's like a 4.5 instead of like a 5, because.
So if the movement was polished, like it could be a 5.
Yeah, but I think if the movement was polished, it may take away from the interestingness of the movement in Animal World.
Sure, I'm not knowing what all the mechanics are, but I always thought there's like some sort of, surely there's some sort of program you could do to.
Because the almost jankiness of movement comes into the puzzle design of having to use it at certain times and doing certain different things, you know?
I would imagine you'd have to change some parts. No, I don't know. I'd have to experience it to have my thoughts.
But, again, Tony, The Outer Wilds. I understand a lot more what people were talking about playing both of those games that you can never talk about because they're so much better if you don't know about them.
Right.
I'll just say, the run. There's the run in this game.
Okay.
And if you've not played either of those games, you will have no idea what I'm talking about. But there's the run in this game, and it is fucking terrifying. But yeah, you essentially the main goal of Animal World is, well, again, exploration, and then eventually down the line, you'll figure out what you need to do, and you'll be like, oh, okay, I kind of understand what I need to do now, and I'm gonna go off to different areas of the map and do that. Like, I never was that confused in Animal World. I always kind of had a baseline understanding of where I needed to... Like, I was like, I haven't explored this area, let me explore this area. I have this ability and I kind of know what to do it. Let me just keep trying stuff until I solve this puzzle. And that's the beauty of Animal World, is it took me like 9-10 hours to beat it, and I was given one single instruction. And that's what I love about Animal World. It's a truly fantastic game, and it's one of the best games of this year. Like, I highly recommend most people to go in blind and try it, right? You know?
I mean, it wasn't on my list originally. Like, I saw Funky advertise its videos.
Yeah, I knew nothing about it other than Donkey was making it. And after playing Animal World, I'm like, this genuinely is a fucking amazing game. Very worth your time.
Money well spent, Donkey. Well done.
Yeah. It's their first game, and I'm like, this is like almost a masterpiece. Like, it's that good.
It's insane. Well.
Yeah.
It's on my list now.
Another Crab's Treasure and Animal World, 2 games I highly recommend checking out. Another Crab's Treasure is on Game Pass, and then Animal World, I think it's about £20 on Steam. I got it on its launch sale discount, so it was like £18 for me. But it's pretty cheap, so.
Pretty cheap, yeah.
Probably runs. I'm guessing it's Steam Deck. Steam Deck verified. Tony, you could play it on your Steam Deck OLED.
Oh, huge.
Or you're out and about.
Yeah.
Could play on a plane, you know.
Yeah. I do aim to not be on a plane as little as possible, but sometimes you just have to be on a plane.
I mean, that's the perfect scenario to have a Steam Deck, is when you're forced to sit in one place for several hours and you have nowhere else to go. And that's where I use my Steam Deck.
Me a couple of times already.
Usually it's like
a month.
Usually it's like, oh, I need to go somewhere in the car, and I need to just wait in the car for like 20 minutes. Let me just pull out my Steam and play for 20 minutes, and then on the plane I'm like, oh, I could play something a bit longer.
Yeah, man.
Because I've got the ability to. Oh, here's the frisbee, Tony. The first item in the game.
Discovered the frisbee. Okay.
Yep.
It's quite early on though. Interesting.
Yeah. But yeah.
Well, okay.
We'll see you next time.
We'll
Goodbye.
Pick it up, and everyone should as well.
Good
Bye.
tie.